Joining me now is Eric Subin, a trial attorney who has handled many police brutality cases. So he's in a great position to help us out here and figure out some things from today. Thank you so much for joining me, Eric. I truly appreciate it.
Anytime.
All right, so I just want to start off by showing folks that jury questionnaire that the attorney was referring to. This is it. It's like 14 pages long. And I felt, Eric, when we were given this to fill out just on our own, just to get a sense of it, that you were going to get a very sort of intelligent brand of prospective juror, because they're asking a lot here. They want you to write, they want you to read 14 pages. So I want to get your impression so far of some of the prospective jurors, then we'll hone in on prospective juror or juror number 2, who's now a juror in the case. So just give me a sense of overall, what were your impressions of the prospective jurors that came in front of the court today?
Well, if you're just talking about prospective jurors, they seem to have run the gamut. I mean, the very first juror they questioned was a Hispanic lady who didn't really have a terrible command of the English language by her own admission. And then the very next juror, who you were just showing excerpts from, is a chemist. So, and the most recent juror that they just questioned was an auditor. So you have, and there was a consumer advocate, a manager of a company. So you have people from sort of all over the gamut as far as that's concerned.
Now, this particular juror, juror number 2, who's now on the actual jury, I want to know how you would have processed the answer that he had not seen the video. That caused me some concern. The fact that in his own town, it was basically turned inside out by this incident, but yet he had not seen the video, had not sought it out. I want to know how you, as a defense attorney in a case like this, might have processed that information.
I feel like my gut reaction would have been that I'd be dubious. He'd probably be literally the only person on the entire face of the earth that hasn't seen it at this point. I also noted that on that jury questionnaire you were just referencing, one of the questions is, what newspapers do you read? What TV network news do you watch? I'd be pretty curious as to what his answers to those questions were, because if he answered them at all, if he's been watching them at all, it would have been pretty difficult not to have seen that video at this point.
Yeah, he also struck me as the kind of juror that really sort of falls in the middle and could be helpful to both sides. I mean, he talked about the fact that he had done or had read something that suggested blacks perhaps were treated unfairly in sentencing in the criminal justice system, but he wasn't very favorable towards the Black Lives Matter movement, didn't like some of the messages they were saying, but he does value jury service and could be impartial. I mean, ultimately, defense attorneys and prosecutors, they're looking for jurors that perhaps can be more sensitive to their case, but really they're looking for someone who's impartial, correct?
Yeah, definitely. You want to win the case, but you want to win it for the right reason. I mean, that's why they ask these questions. If somebody came in and said, I'm totally on your side, and you could stack the box with just those people, there's not a whole lot of point in having the trial. I mean, if you look at the Trump impeachment trial in the Senate, the Trump's lawyers could have literally read Jabberwocky, and he was still going to get away with it. I mean, that's just not how justice is supposed to work. That's why you try and find people as close to the middle as possible. I mean, people can have opinions, but so long as they're open to both sides of a prospective case, they're eligible to sit.
Eric, I'm trying to get viewers on a daily basis to understand how important this part of a trial is. And I'm wondering if you can explain, especially in police brutality cases, how important the picking of a jury is and how it affects the ultimate outcome of a trial. What happens now in voir dire is extremely important to the overall way the case goes.
It's absolutely, literally the most important part. That's why I've been sort of surprised in watching the voir dire conducted by both sides. They're not really hitting sort of hard questions with these people. They're not really building a rapport. They're not really anchoring any themes. I heard the defense attorney ask just about every prospective juror, if I met you in a bar, I met you at a party, what would you tell me about yourself? And I heard one of the other attorneys say, well, do you consider yourself a fair person? I mean, nobody really is going to answer those questions with anything that's going to lead the attorney to relevant information as to whether or not this person is down the middle or leaning one way or the other. I mean, especially with those questionnaires, I would have been hammering on all of those questionnaire questions, because they really got to ask in advance great questions and then take some time to either form hypotheticals that they can ask the prospective jurors or directly question them on some of those answers, especially if the information is sparse. So it's the most important part. And so far, the jurors that I see are really leaning in favor of the defense would be my concern.
All right, well, we'll get into that in just a minute. We're going to take a quick break now. It's the top of the hour. So stay with us here on Court TV.